Hi Whiskers! So I want to preface this video by saying that I'm probably going to be wrong a couple of times here. It's a really complicated subject, but it is something that I want to talk about and that I'd love to hear your opinion on. We're going to talk about representation. So first off, representation matters. And I sort of knew this tangent to, and I sort of knew this, but then I went to Comic Con last year, Comic Con Africa, and Chandra and I went together. And I remember the weekend before, we were searching and searching for costumes that would fit us, that would match our hair color. So I went as Supergirl, and Chandra went as Batgirl because she has dark hair and I have blonde hair, and it would be weird, I thought, for me to go as Wonder Woman or Black Widow or something like that because, I'm blonde. And then we walked around and we saw the cutest thing. It was a little girl dressed as Princess Jasmine, and her father was dressed as Aladdin, an Indian girl and her Indian father. And looking at that, at first I was just like, damn, that's adorable. And then I sort of realized she didn't really have a choice. I mean, if I wanted to go as Supergirl because I'm blonde and Supergirl is blonde, how much more did she feel pigeonholed into going as Princess Jasmine because she's the only, you know, Indian character that exists, or character from broader Southern Asia? Mm. So then I realized, yeah, representation does matter because if you're dressing up as a character and you just kind of find out, wow, there are no blonde superheroes, or wow, there are no black superheroes, that makes a difference and it can make you feel like you're not wanted in this space. So, yeah, representation matters, and it did take a personal experience for me really to feel that, to feel its importance emotionally in just a simple dress up. And I can't imagine how much or more important it would be if there's only that one character. Because what if there's no one? What if there's no one that looks like you that you can dress up as? Yeah, that's not a world I want to live in. So let's then look at representation in stories. Obviously, a little bit of a different discussion, but I definitely think that as soon as you have a minority character, which is obviously different depending on from where you're writing. Usually we speak as if it's from the West because most of our movies are Western, most of our characters in movies are white. But if you read African stories, then there might be fewer white people and more black and brown people. So if you what I'm trying to say is, if you only have that one character of a certain demographic, so you have a whole cast of characters and you only have one black woman, see Dark Tower, then it sort of becomes important how the narrative portrays that woman. Because it's sort of as if the whole narrative's attitude towards black people, towards women, is portrayed in this one character. So she is not allowed to fit the stereotype. She's not allowed to just exist because she now represents her entire demographic. She represents all women. She represents all black people. So if she were to do anything stereotypical, then that would be seen as racist. So she's not allowed to be dumb because that would be racist. She's not allowed to be frivolous or vain because that would be sexist. She's not allowed to exist as a full human being because she has to stand as a billboard, as a representative of her race. And that's bad. Am I saying that I want black characters, black women to be portrayed as dumb and vain and frivolous? No. But they should be allowed to be those things if their characters call for it. I hope I'm coming across like that you guys are understanding what I'm saying here because it is sort of difficult. And I think the solution would be very easy If you have five black women and they all span like the range of all the traits, then you can't be racist because, well, they're all different, because people are different irrelevant of what their demographic might be. And then people will say, but oh no, we can't do that. You only have so many characters in the story. You're supposed to have five people representing each race. No, but we usually do have five white men and then the odd ones out. So, yeah, it's just something I've been thinking about and something I wanted to discuss. That I'm frustrated by representation in books because it does always feel to me like that a character has to represent her entire race, her entire gender, her entire belief. If there's a Christian there, then they have to represent all Christians ever. And I don't like it. And I think that's sort of a problem in discussing representation now is if you just have your token minority, he or she or they have to represent their entire demographic, and that sucks. That kind of really sucks. You know what's also a thing that you sort of have to do? What if your character is not straight? Do they get a love story, romantic interest? If they're bi, do they need to have two romantic interests? Because like there's this stereotype that bi people are greedy and they need to have all the sex all the time. But then how do you know they're really bi if there is not a sex scene of them with a man and with a woman? So that's like a really difficult line to walk. And if these stereotypes weren't there, then well, that wouldn't exist. And we wouldn't think that any character who doesn't end up coupled up is secretly asexual. Sometimes people can just exist, and I'd really like us to allow anybody else to just exist as well. It doesn't have to be a statement if one of your women are not coupled up by the end of the movie. See Elsa, the only queen who does not have a man. And now that's a statement. I don't have a man. Am I a statement? Am I political? No. I is human being. And I'd really like us to start seeing characters that way. So then let's talk about representation behind the scenes. So black authors, minority authors, women authors. How does that make a difference in what stories they tell and what stories they're allowed to tell? Because there's sort of the assumption that, oh no, this book can't be racist, it was written by a black woman. Yes, it can. Internalized racism and internalized misogyny are things that exist in the world. Um, and that also sort of means that you're attributing certain characteristics to a demographic. This person cannot do evil because they are this. So women can't be predators because they are fragile and they need to be protected. Yeah, that's still sexist. It's sort of benevolent, but it's still sexist. And I'm struggling with this thing of representation. Do we read more minority authors? Do we read more stories with token characters in or with full minority casts? I don't really think this is any kind of solution. I think that pigeonholes these characters into becoming only one thing, and that thing has to be opposite to the cultural stereotypes surrounding that demographic, and it becomes so messy and so political. And I sort of feel like the only way we'll really win this representation fight is by changing cultural attitudes. If it isn't a culture shock to see a black woman in a Western, then it wouldn't be a problem. We wouldn't have to look at her and wonder, what is the author saying about blackness? What is the author saying about womanhood? We wouldn't have to worry about that. And this is not, I'm not advocating let's go colorblind because that's just sort of missing the point. The point is the world does see color, and we need to change that. Closing your eyes is not going to change the world. We need to slowly change cultural attitudes, and I think that means we need risky representation. We need representation of sometimes black people who are frivolous and dumb and do sort of comply to some of those stereotypes, because just like any other human being, a black person is allowed to comply to a racist stereotype of their race if they want to. White people are allowed to be nerdy and kind of racist in books, and obviously bad traits should be pulled out, but we need to have more diverse representation of diverse characters, if that makes sense. I don't think this is a quick fix. I think it's always going to be complicated. But it's sort of a discussion that I wanted to have because it's been bothering me. It's something that I can't miss in my reading anymore. I can't read a book and not notice that, hey, there's like only white people in this universe. Why does this exist? And I know people are going to claim some historical books, but then, like, do your history better. Black people existed before white people discovered them. They actually, like, were in Rome, were in Britain, were in the world. Um, and also, like, it's a choice. It's a choice. Every character you look at, it's a choice whether you make them a white man or anything else. And it's a choice whether or not you allow that demographic to adapt how you write the character. And in some worlds, it's important. But you can write a world where there is no racism. And you can write a colorblind world because it's your imagination. So you can just sometimes have black characters, minority characters, Asian characters, and they can just exist alongside your white men. And for the same reason that it doesn't have to be political for a white man character to exist, it shouldn't be political if you race bend them or if you gender bend them. It should be them just existing all the same. I think I'm rambling on a bit, kind of repeating myself over and over again. But to any prospective authors, I would just say this: just test it. Look at your character and gender bend them, race bend them, and look at what changes. If nothing changes, then why would you want to leave them the same race and gender as every other character in the story? Even more exciting, if everything changes. Are you not now writing a more interesting, diverse world? We want 300 cultures and 300 languages, and we can also have 300 different types of people. People who look different, people who, I don't know. As I said, I'm probably going to be wrong a lot in this video because it is a really difficult battle to fight. It's difficult to fight your culture while living in that culture. We can't escape the notions that have been built up in the past. We can only recognize them and try to work around them. But we're stuck here. We're stuck in the socialization that we've received, and we're stuck in the world that we live in. Closing your eyes won't fix it. Fixing it will fix it. That's my opinion. Okay. I really look forward to hearing what you have to say. Bye, Whiskers. Hey, Whiskers. I'm really happy any of you made it to the end of the video. I did ramble a bit there towards the end, but I wanted to keep it in. I struggled, and I wanted to show that struggle. Um, yeah, this is a really difficult topic, but my intentions are pure. I really want characters of every demographic to just exist for a person's existence in the real world as well as in our books to not be a political stance.
It's not a statement to just be who you are. And I think culture permeates both our reality and the stories that we read. And yeah, I wanted to talk about it because sometimes stories become reality, and it's really strange to think that some people can't just be. Um, so yeah, as I said, I really look forward to discussing this with you guys in the comment section, um, and even on Discord if you want to join me there. Yeah, okay. Bye, Whiskers. Thanks as always for the support. Love you lots.